Methodology for ranking richest countries in the world. GDP, or the gross domestic product, is a parameter for the value of all goods and services produced in a country. Now, once you divide this number by the number of full-time residents in a country, you get an idea of how rich or poor a country's general populace is. However, what gives a much more precise idea of the wealth held by a nation is when you also take into account the inflation rates and costs of local products and services. A closer look, top 10 economies by GDP per capita, ranking 2023. While we know the GDP per capita country-wise for them, let's see why the top 10 economies from the list above became the richest in the world. Ireland, GDP $499 billion. Population 5.3 million. After the great financial crisis of 2008, Ireland put a lot of effort into reforming its banking industry. It initiated measures like cuts to public sector wages to get its economy where it is today. Further, Ireland is one of the largest corporate tax havens in the world, with multinational companies such as Apple, Google, and Microsoft adding over 50% to the Irish economy in recent years. Luxembourg, GDP $86.7 billion. Population 639,000. Luxembourg is one of the relatively unscathed European countries to come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. The nation is known for using wealth to ensure better living standards, healthcare, and education for the general populace. Further, the country is one of the biggest tourist destinations in the world, with its idyllic castles, abundant greenery, and picturesque canals. Also read, Top 10 Highest Valued Currencies in the World in 2023. Singapore, GDP $197 billion. Population 5.45 million. Singapore is one of the world's biggest hubs for businesses and trading centers. The nation has many high-net-worth individuals among its population. The economy has taken a few consecutive hits in recent years, with the pandemic at first, and then the Chinese sputtering economy, a crucial trading partner, especially for Singapore's manufacturing sector, making up 21.6% of the total GDP in Singapore. GDP $180 billion. Population 2.93 million. Qatar and also the UAE are on this list of the top 10 economies by GDP per capita ranking for 2023, benefit largely from their reserves of natural resources. For example, Qatar's oil and natural gas reserves are significantly huge compared to its population, contributing to its high ranking among the richest countries. Macau SAR. GDP $22 billion. Population 695,168. Macau SAR is a special administrative region under China, and its wealth mainly emerges from its over 40 casinos, which make it one of the biggest travel destinations around the world. Even though Macau took a tremendous hit during the COVID-19 crisis with travel restrictions and frequent lockdowns, the economy is already on its way to rapid economic recovery. United Arab Emirates. GDP $359 billion. Population 9.9 million. The UAE, as mentioned above, benefits greatly from its natural resources. Only 20% of the total population in this region is truly native, the rest being attracted by economic benefits like tax-free salaries. Aside from its hydrocarbon sector, tourism, finance, and construction are lucrative sectors in the UAE. Switzerland. GDP $813 billion. Population 8.70 million. One of the biggest tourist hotspots globally, Switzerland also has a bustling financial sector. The country further benefits from exports of precious metals, precision instruments, and machinery like computers and medical devices. About 74% of the Swiss GDP comes from the services sector and 25% from industry, with less than 1% from the agricultural sector. Switzerland further has the lowest VAT rate in Europe. Norway. GDP $482 billion. Population 5.41 million. Norway is again a top petroleum provider in the Western European territories. The country has made good financial progress after the economy crashed during the COVID-19 crisis. Further, Norway has a $1.30 trillion sovereign wealth fund to deal with any crises urgently, which also happens to be the largest of its kind in the world. United States. GDP $23 trillion. Population 332 million. If you were wondering about GDP per capita use at the beginning, the country definitely makes it to the list of the top 10 economies by GDP per capita (PPP), albeit at one of the lower ranks. Along with being a dominant economic entity, San Marino, GDP $1.86 billion, population 33,900. San Marino is the oldest republic in Europe and the fifth smallest on the continent. Income tax rates are meager here, which contributes to the wealth held by citizens.